Thanks, Rocket, for organizing this awesome event. Before we go straight to the point, quick checks, quick questions. Who already used Symfony in this room? Please raise your hand. Okay, very few.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Who actually has Symfony applications running in production?
Amen.
Okay, some people, cool. Who never ever heard about Symfony? Great. Here we go. We will give you, for the people who don't know what it is at all, we will give you a nice overview of what it is. We were ready for this, thankfully. And for those who already know it well, we still might have some surprises and good news for you.
Oké. Chào mọi người. Em không biết nói tiếng Việt. Em chỉ biết nói. Em chỉ biết nói. 1, 2, 3, 2. But I think we will continue in English. I think it will be better. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Mathias Arlaud, and there is Robin Chalas. We are two PHP developers, two French PHP developers, and and this is the important thing, two open source contributors. And this will be the aim of this talk, basically. We are part of the Symfony Core Team, so we maintain the Symfony framework, and we have also co-founded the / company, which is doing basically expertise around Symfony. And so during the day, we use Symfony at work. We work with Symfony, we are training Symfony developers and so on and so on. And at night, after working hours, we do our best to improve the framework. So basically, we are benefiting our night work to the day-to-day work. Anyway, please.
It's definitely worth saying what Symfony is, given how much people don't know what it is. It's a web framework, okay? It allows you to develop web applications, helps you to do so by giving you components that help doing what you need. Some key numbers. Symfony was born 20 years ago. I was 11, so I didn't use Symfony 1, thankfully. It was not what Symfony 8 is today. I started with Symfony 2, and it was already quite good, but definitely not what it is today. Symfony is a web framework, but it's also a set of reusable, standalone components that can be used in any PHP project based on the PHP language. Overall, Symfony has been downloaded 36 billion times. That's huge. It's a framework that powers European infrastructures, big businesses, and it's actually used worldwide. It has 30,000 stars on GitHub. This is quite good, yet it's not enough. So if you feel like, go have a look, judge yourself, and consider giving it a star. It deserves it. Symfony is the work of more than 3,000 people from all over the world. For Symfony 8 alone, Symfony 8 being the latest Symfony release, it's made up by more than 600 contributors, individual contributors. Oops. We are gonna give some hints about what Symfony is about and what are its strengths. We cannot talk about Symfony without talking about its dependency injection container. Dependency injection is about wiring your code all together, making your code able to talk with each other piece of your code, your own classes, but also the one that Symfony provides. The Symfony container, dependency injection container, is probably the most advanced dependency injection container of the PHP ecosystem and even beyond. I use some other languages. I can tell you we are good with it. Dependency injection is about asking for dependencies, making a class expose a constructor to tell the framework what dependencies it needs in order to do a thing, in order to work. Okay? This is a constructor which creates some dependency, a repository that is about getting invoices and persisting them, and much more. Symfony, to configure this dependency injection container and make this all work, we used to write tons of YML. Thankfully, it's not the case anymore. Thanks to PHP 8 attributes, this is much simpler. In Symfony 8, and also auto-wiring, which is a feature of the Symfony dependency injection container, which allows you to have your code works all together without writing configuration, or almost no configuration. The remaining bits of configuration are done through attributes, which you can see, such as the auto-wire attributes and target attributes, and there is much more. We won't list them all. Another really powerful thing of Symfony is the way you manage its components, the way you install it. To do so, you use what's called Symfony Flex and its recipes. Symfony Flex is about giving you some good default configuration and opinionated configuration, so you don't have to write much on your own yourself. You just have to change some lines to make it fit your actual project needs. Here we are installing the Symfony mailer component. Thanks to Symfony Flex, we will get a full configuration, and you just have to change a one-liner to tell Symfony if you want to use Mailchimp, Mailgrid, SMTP, or whatever. Okay? It gives you some good defaults and allows you to keep up with the new versions of the framework by giving you a really straightforward way to upgrade your configuration. Here, the result of running this command. So Symfony Flex builds on top of Composer, which is the PHP manager, the PHP dependency manager. Okay? Package manager, sorry. I got it. The result of this is that we will be able to have some mailer service available through all our application. Of course, you don't want to inject and use a mailer everywhere. You don't want to use a mailer in your model or your event classes. You want this to be used where it makes sense. Another great Symfony feature is the debugging tools it provides. Here is what we call the Symfony Web Profiler. Whenever you make an HTTP request to your application, or you execute some console command you wrote or Symfony provides you with, you get a profile, which is available through a unique URL. It will tell you what SQL queries were made, what events were dispatched, and what listeners reacted to them. Also, it will tell you what HTTP headers were sent and everything about the authenticated user, if any. Information about memory consumption, performances, so you can debug easily what happens behind your application. It's not a new component in Symfony 8, yet it's something that is in constant evolution. every important Symfony feature has its profiler integration, so you can understand what happens behind the scene. Your turn, Mathias.
No.
Sorry. Now, let's talk about a features that are not about code and that make Symfony really enterprise ready. The most important Symfony foundation is its release schedule. The thing is, Symfony has a fixed release schedule. Every month, patch versions are released. Those contain only bug fixes, so they doesn't require any code change on your side. You are safe to upgrade blindly. Then, every 6 months, it gets new minor versions. Minors are about releasing new features and deprecating existing features that are not good enough anymore, that we find better alternatives because the PHP language provided us with better alternatives, or Symfony innovated and provided us with better alternatives. So this is twice a year, in November and in May. The upcoming new Symfony minor version will be out in May and will be Symfony 8.1. And every 2 years, Symfony releases a new major version. This one, major versions are about removing deprecated code, mostly. Code that were deprecated previously in the previous minor version set. And it's also about setting the boundaries and of the path Symfony will take for the next 2 years. Okay? Major versions are the ones that include BC breaks, but we will talk more about this later. Symfony has been following this agenda strictly, with no exception, for over a decade now. And what this brings it is predictability. If you are a CEO or a tech lead or whatever, this agenda makes you able to planify the effort you will need to upgrade your application and avoid technical debt. So this is especially useful. That level of predictability is actually pretty rare in open source software. We don't see much project following such a strict agenda. And yeah, this is a game changer for businesses. Symfony wants their user expectations to be higher than that. So yeah, this is not gonna change, and this is something we are quite happy with, and is pretty stable. Something you should always remember, especially if you contribute to Symfony, is that even though we know exactly when the next Symfony version will be released, we don't know at all what it will contain. There is no roadmap, feature roadmap, okay? Symfony is contributed by many individuals, and we don't have a plan, okay? What ends up in the Symfony release is whatever contributors will propose, and whatever core maintainers will be able to merge, accept, review, okay? We have some object mapper components, multi-step forms, which are recent Symfony features. None of them was planned, okay? Nobody scheduled it. Someone saw a gap, proposed a patch, and carried it through. So when you look at this timeline, you see that Symfony 8.1 in May 2026, that box content isn't known right now. We don't know what it will contain. I can tell you it will contain a lot of great stuff. But this box is fed by whatever people will contribute between now and then. Keep that in mind. We will come back to it later. Another key feature of Symfony is its backward compatibility promise. When some feature or behavior appears to not be useful enough or we have better alternatives, and like I said before, we don't just remove it, as this will break your code. We first deprecate it in a way that your code still works even if you are using this deprecated feature. And we tell you this is deprecated, you should stop using it in favor of such thing. And then this gives you time to migrate properly. This is also what makes Symfony truly enterprise ready. It's also about predictability and being able to planify. Okay? So the promise is that your code won't break when upgrading to a new minor version. Every 6 months you upgrade. You can choose to adopt the new features immediately or not. We advise you to take the time to adopt the new features that are suggested by deprecations. You should fix your deprecations. We don't break your code every new minor release, yet sometimes mistakes happen. Mistakes on our side, as Symfony maintainers, we merged something that shouldn't, that broke why it shouldn't, but also mistakes on your side. You were using a feature in a way you are not supposed to. And anyway, we aim to make everyone happy and help everyone. So yeah, it's just about communication, and we fix our mistakes. Upgrading to Symfony is never a big bang. It's a continuous path. What you do when you upgrade is just to take a look about what's been deprecated and fix those deprecations one by one. Might take a week, it might be a bit longer depending how heavy is your code base, as usual. But there is no wall. When the time will be to upgrade to the new major version, the latest one being Symfony 8, you are already ready because you fixed your deprecations on the previous minor versions that were released. So if you follow these good habits of upgrading continuously, adopting new minor version early, you are safe. We have seen teams upgrade from Symfony 4 to Symfony 8 in less than a week, okay, by following these good habits. All right, that's the foundation of Symfony 8. The framework has been around for 20 years now. It releases like clockwork, provide you with wonderful tooling and a predictable agenda. Now let's talk about Symfony 8. It came out in last November 2025, a few months ago, along with PHP 8.5, which is also a game changer. And while we are not going to go through the full feature list, you can read blog posts for this. What we want to do instead is to talk to you about the features we find the most useful that fix actual problems and remove actual limitations we had in the past. And also the one we like the most and we were the most involved in.
Okay. Plenty of information, right? So yeah, let's take a break. Before I start, to be honest, I want us to play together a mini game. You all woke up enough? Yeah? Okay, great. I want you to remember some words, okay? Simple. So here we have the words cat, pizza, sun, and bike. So please keep this word in mind and then give them back to me, okay? Ready? Okay, I'm listening. What were the words? Okay, yeah, you're too strong. Okay. I had them as well. Perfect. Indeed, it was cat, pizza, sun, and bike. It was too easy for you. Let's make it a bit harder. Now we have 10 words. We have 3. We have elephant, coffee, mountain, laptop, banana, train, glass, it's long, chair, music, okay? So take a bit of time to print them into your mind. And after that, if somebody wants to try, he might win something, okay? You feel ready? Maybe you need 10 more seconds.
Est-ce que tu sais où sont nos sacs? C'est derrière quelqu'un.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, who want to try? Too shy? You don't want to earn a free thing? Okay, we're gonna do that together. What was the first word? You remember? Yeah, nice. Before coffee, well, elephant, coffee, mountain, yes. Laptop, banana, train, glass, whoa, chair, music, perfect. So congrats. Together we are kind of so.
Can anyone remind them all? Still not? We have something for you.
It's okay, it's okay.
Fine.
Okay, to be honest, without my notes, I wouldn't be able to retrieve these words, right? And anyway, for most of people, it's way harder and slower to give them word backs. We have to be together to struggle to give this word back. Okay, I have a last level for you. You ready? Okay. Yeah, I think this time is too much for you. Okay, so we have faced what we can call the out-of-memory issue, okay? The OOM issue. The out-of-memory issue basically means that we do not have enough space to put stuff in our little brain. Our brain is too small for that. We have techniques, but yeah, you get my point. And of course, this out-of-memory issue is not limited to humans, right? Computers, softwares, programs are also affected. So this minigame was not just a minigame. It was to introduce the out-of-memory issue. So now that we have the out-of-memory issue, I want to get a bit technical. It won't be that hard, so everybody can understand, and you don't have to be at ease with Symfony to understand the concept right here. So just for me to know, who is developer in the room? Okay, kind of half-half. I will see if I'm pedagogic enough. Okay, so we're going to talk about serialization. The serialization is basically the fact to take an object, something, and to convert it into a string, okay? A text, okay? So we're going to see together what happened under the hood when we decide to serialize something in Symfony, and more precisely with the Symfony serializer component, okay? So if you ever went through the Symfony documentation, you might have seen this schema. And this schema explains how the serialization works in Symfony. So serialization in Symfony can be decomposed in 2 steps. So first, there is the normalization step, which basically the goal is to take the initial data, the object, and to convert it to its normal form. What is the normal form? The normal form is, the shape and the content we want in the final text. So we, tweak a little bit the data so that it has the shape and the content we want at the end. This is the normalization step. And to do so, Symfony uses an array, okay, a big array, because it is a simple and a flexible data structure, okay? And then come the encoding part, which is taking that array that we have just built using the normalization step and to convert it to the final string, to the JSON, for instance. In PHP, we use the JSON encode function, okay? And then we got the JSON, and we have the string that we can send over HTTP, store in a database, and so on and so on. This is what serialization is for, is to transmit data from a system to another, okay? And of course, there is the deserialization, which is in the other step. We take the string, we denormalize it, we decode it in order to get an array, and then we denormalize it to get object and this kind of stuff, okay? So, with that in mind, let's say that we want to serialize a huge amount of data, a huge amount of object, for instance. So at some point, after the normalization step, to be precise, all the objects, its dependencies, and so on and so on and so on, will be contained in a single array, okay? In memory. And this means that at some point, we're going to have an insane array in memory. And at some point, boom, like we exploded together, the out of memory issue. But for PHP, it's worth. When the memory is not enough, hopefully we don't do that, but PHP process just die. So yeah, I'm glad we don't do that. So this PHP die process because of too much data is an issue, and is an issue that I encountered, okay, as a developer, during my day-to-day work. I was at a client, and in production, boom, the PHP process died, and I did not understand why at the beginning, but after I understood, it was that. So I decided to try to fix it, and I began to think about ways to fix it. And I came up with an idea which is pretty straightforward, to be honest. Indeed, instead of building the entire array in memory to shape it and then at once convert it to string, what if we just, write the JSON directly? I mean, think about it, if you are at ease with JSON. If you are at ease with JSON, you will know that a collection of objects will be for sure a bracket, then your objects, one, and one separated by commas, and then a closing bracket, okay? So you can, for any collection of objects, write a bracket, grab the first object in memory, so you have only one word in memory, write it down, and then, write a comma, unload the first object from your memory, and load the second one, and so on and so on. And so with our word list, no matter how long it is, we're going to need to have, using that technique, only one word at memory at the time, so we never explode. Okay? So this is what we call streaming. Okay? This is streaming. And basically, when you stream a movie, this is the same principle. You do not download, as a hacker you are, using torrent and P2P to get and download the whole movie at once. You stream it, and this means that you just get tiny parts of your movie, illegal movie, and then you can forget the parts you've seen, okay? So this is the streaming concept, and the streaming can be the solution of the issue I encountered using that memory, okay? And at the time, Symfony did not have anything to do streaming. But to do so, and this is a bit more technical, but don't worry, we're going to get it. We need to be able to guess in advance the shape of the JSON, okay? But using the metadata of the PHP data structure. For example, on the left, this is a PHP class, okay? And we have a simple PHP class. And on the right, I wrote what the JSON should look like for this class, okay? So, for instance, we have a string title, an integer rate, a Boolean in stock. And as a result, it's going to result as an associative array in JSON, okay? So curly bracket, within a title key, which can be any string, a rate key, which can be any integer, and an in stock key, which can be either the true value and the false value. So for these properties, it is kind of obvious, okay? But the property in PHP can be an union, can be a collection, a generic type, a specific array shape, and so on and so on. So you're going to need something to be able to describe such precise and weird stuff, weird types, okay? To be able to guess the shape of the JSON and then be able to stream. Yeah. And this is where I hit a wall, because Symfony have the property info component to describe property types, okay? But it couldn't represent such weird types such as generics, collections, array shapes, and so on, intersection, and so on. So before I could build the stream generator, I had to rebuild how to Symfony understands types in PHP, so side quest. And the side quest result is the type info component. I created a new component, more intelligent, to understand such types. So yeah, this is how the type info component was born. And there is the fun thing. I actually wrote all the code of the Symfony type info component right here in Hanoi. Actually, I was staying at our friend's office at Sutunam, who were kind enough to host me for a few weeks, maybe a few months, to be honest, while I was working on this component. So it's in Sadan. So yeah, in a very real way, this city, this community is part of the new version of Symfony on Symfony 8. So thank you for that, by the way. Okay, so after doing so, I was finally able to build a component that is able to stream JSON, like streaming movies, but with JSON. And the thing I want you to take away from this history is not the technical stuff, even if I found it interesting, but anyway, it's the path, okay? I mean, I got a memory issue on my client project, and then it led me to rewrite the type system of Symfony, and then create a new component to stream JSON, okay? And the thing is, all of this work, type info JSON streamer, is now available to everyone. And everyone can maintain it and contribute it. And to me, that is exactly how open source projects must move forward. But we're going to go back to it a bit later.
Another story.
Dat was 10 minutes.
A story of mine. A war, actually, rather a war. One that lasted 8 years. Okay. First, some introduction. I will be quick as we are running out of time. When you develop web applications, when you are using web frameworks, you have entry points. Classes that serve as entry points. Those are HTTP controllers and console commands. If you are in the CLI, you execute a console command. If you are in the web, you run a controller. You call a controller. Okay? This, on the left, you can see what a typical controller looks like today with Symfony 8 in 2026. Okay? It's just a plain old PHP object which does not extend any base class. It's used to, but now it can be any class. Then we have some invoke method, and we get some nice DTO injected into that constructors, into that invoke method. Sorry. This controller is about creating a user. You hit this endpoint to create a user, okay? So we have some create user payload that represents the request data that was passed, okay? We have, this payload is automatically built by Symfony from the raw request data. This is especially useful and gives great developer experience and make you fast, okay? Just have to write this, have this user payload wrote on your own, and Symfony takes care of hydrating it, okay? Building it. Then you can just do your thing, write your business logic, and focus on it, okay? On the other side, you can see what a console command looks like in 2026. It does the same job as the controller, just it does it through the CLI, okay? You can see it's much more convoluted, okay? We have some configure method, which configures some arguments that the command expects to be passed by the user through the command line. And then we have the execute method, which is the thing that is called and where you have to retrieve the arguments and do your thing with it. What makes it way less good than controllers is the amount of boilerplate code it contains. You can see all that add arguments, add option calls, and it gets even worse when you see how we retrieve those input values. We use get argument, get option, which always return strings. There is no complex type support, okay? You always have plain strings like the one that were passed through a form. Then you are on your own when it comes to mapping this to more complex type structures, okay? Like the one Mathias described. You also have to handle validation on your own and here only, while in the controller, this was all done by Symfony, okay? So controllers have been given way more love through the years than console commands were, okay? As I said, the first discussions to change this, the first time we realized this was not good was 8 years ago. Today, in Symfony 8, we are really proud to finally have fixed this. It's quite a revolution. Here is what the console command now looks like with Symfony 8. It's much more straightforward. You have some DTO, just like we had in the controller. We have some arguments defined as constructor arguments of that DTO with some validation constraints that allow you to say, hey, this value must not be blank. Hey, this value must be a valid email, okay? And so on. Or this role should be either admin, editor, or viewer, okay? You define some validation rules. And then this is what the actual command looks like. It's 5 lines of code, at worst. You tell Symfony through the map input PHP 8 attribute that you want to create user input to be hydrated from the raw command line arguments and options. Okay? Then you can focus on your business logic. Awesome. This first discussion was done in 2018 at a Symfony hackathon organized by the European Commission. I had the chance to participate too. How the heck did it take so long to happen? The first reason is backward compatibility. The console is it's the 5th most used PHP package overall, okay? This is huge. The composer we talked about earlier is the package manager of PHP. So even if you don't use Symfony but use another framework or don't use any framework at all, just take some libraries, some you need, you are using the Symfony console because Composer depends on it and builds on it. Composer is just a list of commands. These commands are built on top of the Symfony console. Hence, it's so critical. And as such, we wouldn't want to break Composer because we would be breaking millions of applications and make developers unable to upgrade the dependency and even deploy in production. So we are quite conservative when it comes to changing anything in the console. That's the main reason where we were so long to make this revolution happen. Then there is no better time to improve the console. All our AI agents and MCP servers are built through the CLI, the command line interface. They run through the command line interface before being in your browser, okay? When AI interacts with your applications, it's running commands. Also, of course, it's about human bandwidth. As we said, Symfony is built by thousands of individual contributors, mostly on their free time. So, thankfully, Symfony now treats console commands as first-class citizens, and that's a really good thing. And that's a strategic bet for the years to come.
Robin.
You have seen the feature. Now let's talk about where they actually come from. We told you a bit, but more precisely. None of this was designed in the lab. Spoiler. At Backslash, we are a small company, 2 co-founders and a handful of awesome developers. We build e-commerce platform, ERPs, AI-powered document processor, and we have clients, deadlines, bug on Fridays. And just like you, if you are a developer. And when we hit a bug in Symfony, and we do, we have 2 choices. Either work around it in your own applications or fix it upstream. Fixing it on our side in your applications implies to maintain this workaround for eventually years. So we always choose to fix it upstream. Okay? Not because we are heroes, but because we are lazy, intelligently lazy. And we don't want to carry those patches and increase the technical depth of our applications. So, and as a bonus, everyone benefits of our work. Okay? That's the power of open source.
Okay. So, the end of the talk going to be mainly addressed to developers, so you will understand why. So if we have the upstream reflex, contributing upstream in the open source software instead of our place, it's going to become a virtuous cycle, okay? Because you use open source software, you encounter a problem, you contribute a fix, and then the open source software is improved for everyone, Everyone going to have the fix available for free. And plus, you do not need to maintain the fix or the feature yourself. It is the whole community that's going to handle that. And because we are lazy, we are developers. We are lazy, so we are happy to have less work. So every feature we showed you, the JSON streamer, the type info, and so on, it was, a fix to a real issue, but available to everyone. So I'm gonna be fast. So this is the Symfony Core Team, okay? This is the people who maintain mainly the Symfony framework. People who review pull requests, get merge pull requests, handle security issues, and so on and so on. And I want you to look at this picture, and I will tell you, there is nothing special about these people. I mean, they are not PhD graduated in computer science. They didn't code since there was 5. They wouldn't be able either to retain the 10 words in their mind. They are just regular developer like you, like me, like Robin, like anybody in this room. Wow. Yeah. So I'm gonna speed up a bit. So what I want to say is, like, if you use any open source project as work, you probably hit a bug and say, oh yeah, that's annoying, and find another way, write a little workaround or so on. Or you probably looked at a missing feature and told yourself, whoa, someone should take care of it. This could be really powerful, And to be honest, that's someone, if you are a developer, can be you, okay? And I'm sure right now you might think, yeah, but it's too huge, I wouldn't even know where to start. And that's logical. I felt the same way at the very beginning, The first time I opened the Symfony source code, I was like, whoa, this is, I don't understand anything. These people are on another level. But this is what I learned. It's not rocket science, most of the open source software, The code is well organized most of the time. You have test suite to cover your back if you break something, and the review process is tough, but, it is fair. And so your first pull request might probably have a 20, 30 comment, and you will probably have to rewrite it maybe 2 or 3 times, but that's normal. So yes, so that's not hard. It is unfamiliar, okay? And the unfamiliar goes away the second time you do it, and the third time you do it. And then you're going to become familiar with it, and you will see that it is not hard at all. So do you remember that slide? Here, we know when, Symfony 8.1, we don't know what, okay? And yeah, Symfony 8.1 is gonna come out in May, and right now, as we speak, people are contributing, creating pull requests, creating issue, reviewing each other code. And so yeah, the content of 8.1 is being written right now. But maybe, if you are using Symfony, of course, a little part of this box can be you. It's not that hard. You just have to try it. And anyway, to help Symfony or any open source software project, what you have to do is to try new releases, okay? The beta, to raise the bug as soon as possible, to create issues or pull requests. You know, creating an issue and a reproducer is already contributing to an open source project, and to review other prod requests when you have spare time. And last but not least, attend to community events to make the community growing and being involved into like that. And you have did that, so thank you for that. It's the first step, to be more involved in the open source ecosystem, not only Symfony, but any open source ecosystem. And I think this is how all that stuff, this is how open source software might move forward. Voilà.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for listening to us.